Okay, English, question 1. Where was Nelson Mandela born? So we've got up here, he was born in Johannesburg, I believe it was. Actually, it looks like he moved to Johannesburg, but he was born in a small village called Mvezo. So option C was the correct answer here. How long did Nelson Mandela spend in prison? We've got over here that he spent 27 years in prison, so the answer is B. What can we infer about Mandela's view on violence? So, what we can see here is when he becomes the leader of the ANC, he believed in peaceful protests and campaigns. He organised strikes, boycotts and demonstrations, hoping to force the government to change the unfair policies. So he begins with peaceful protests, and later on, if we actually go further, what happens is the government responds with violence and kills many protesters, and that's when he decides peaceful protesting might not be enough. So they set up this group called the Spear of Nation, and they're prepared to use violence to fight back. So if we look at our options here, he believed violence was the best option. No, he didn't start with violence. He only supported violence when peaceful methods fail. That's exactly what we just saw in the passage. He was against all forms of protest. That's not true, because he was protesting and he encouraged violence. He didn't encourage it from the start, so option B is the answer there. Question 4. Why was Mandela expelled from the University of Fort Hare? So, if we scroll all the way back up, I believe it says here, he is expelled from this university for participating in a student protest. So, that will be option C as the answer. Why did Mandela's imprisonment make him a global symbol? So you can see he was sentenced to life imprisonment here. He was in very harsh conditions, and even though the tough conditions, he remained strong, spent his time reading, writing letters, and also continuing to fight for justice. Over the years, he became a symbol of resistance against the apartheid, not only in South Africa but across the world. If we look at this, he was one of the leaders of the ANC, which was against the apartheid. He gets imprisoned, and he continues to fight for justice. So this is probably why he's seen as a symbol, because even when he's put to the ground or like shut down, he's still fighting. You can also see the outside world was changing. Many people started to speak out against the apartheid because they probably saw that Mandela was doing it and felt safe enough, or felt that it was right to do it. So here we've got, he was the first political prisoner in South Africa. We haven't had that mentioned. His imprisonment highlighted the injustices of the apartheid to the world. I think that could make sense. He didn't lead violent revolutions. His time in prison, it wasn't comfortable. So it doesn't mention anywhere that he was the first political prisoner, right? And we can actually just double check that as well. Yeah, all it's doing here is putting him in prison for his peaceful protests, or even just for fighting against this injustice. Sort of emphasized the injustice even more, especially when he's kept in a small remote island, and he's forced to do hard labour for many years, only allowing to receive one visitor every 6 months, right? So option B is the best one there. Question 6. What does the essay suggest Mandela's main focus as president was his main focus as president? So if we look at when he becomes president, It's right down here. He's elected the first black president. He only served one term, but he worked hard during the time to unite the country and heal the divisions caused by apartheid. So he doesn't do much apart from trying to unite and heal all the issues that were in South Africa before, due to the apartheid, which is, as we've gone through in the text, it's basically where black people are forced to live in separate areas from the white people. So he doesn't punish them. He doesn't expand South Africa's international influence or look at increasing economic growth as his main focus. It's bringing the people together and sort of rebuilding that unity. Question 7. What does the international pressure release Mandela? So what does the international pressure to release Mandela imply about the apartheid? So international pressure, this means other countries are sort of pressuring South Africa to release him from prison. So what does that imply about the apartheid? It was only opposed by South Africans. Well, no, you wouldn't have international pressure, right, if it was only opposed by South Africans. It was a local issue with global attention. Apartheid was seen as a global injustice, and a few countries cared about Mandela's imprisonment. So with option B, we've actually got this right here. It says here, people from different countries started speaking out against the apartheid. Against apartheid. So not particularly South Africa's apartheid, but just apartheid in general. So this isn't actually a local issue that has global attention. This is actually something that is an issue around the world. And it also says many different countries, people from many different countries. So it wouldn't be correct to say only a few countries cared about Mandela's imprisonment. Basically, the best option here is C, because people in different countries are all saying that the apartheid is wrong. This is a global injustice. Everyone is saying it's wrong. Question 8. Why might Mandela not have sought revenge after his release from prison? So when he's released from prison here, what happens is he does not seek revenge, but instead works tirelessly to bring all the South Africans together, black and white. He helps negotiate the end of the apartheid and a new constitution to give equal rights to everyone, because this was always his goal. His goal was to give equal rights to everyone. So seeking revenge wouldn't actually achieve that goal. It could make things worse. So let's see. He wanted to avoid further conflict. That does make sense. He was too weak. That's not true. That's not mentioned in the passage. He had forgotten the people who had imprisoned him. Again, not mentioned. Or he believed only in forgiveness after his experience. Again, this isn't mentioned in the passage. What is mentioned is that he doesn't want conflict. He starts off with peaceful protests, right? His goal is always to end conflicts. His goal was to have equal rights and have a peaceful country. So of course, the best way to achieve that isn't to seek revenge, but to try and work to bring everyone together and get over this issue of the apartheid. Okay, question 9. What does Mandela's establishment of this, it was, what was it called? The Spear of the Nation, suggest about his view of ANC's peaceful tactics. So what happens is ANC's peaceful tactics don't work, and then they set up this thing called the Spear of Nation that is ready to bring on violence as well if needed. So he thought peaceful tactics were sufficient. He wouldn't have created it if it was sufficient. He believed they were failing to bring a change. That is definitely a good point. He was uninterested in protests. Nope, because he was protesting. And he thought violence would bring immediate victory. I don't think so. Again, not mentioned in the passage. He uses violence as a last resort. And he only did that because he because he believed that the peaceful protests were failing to bring a change. Okay, question 10. What significance of the democratic election in 1994? What was the significance, sorry. So the democratic election in 1994 is their first democratic elections, and it allows freedom, it allows the people to choose, and allows them to develop in that sense. So let's see, it marked the start of the apartheid. No. It allowed South Africa to elect a black president for the first time. Well, it does. It is the first black president that we've got. It was the first time South Africa elected a president by violence. That is not true. That's not mentioned. It confirmed the apartheid. Not true either. So yeah, it was the first ever democratic election, and it also allowed them to have voted for a black president for the first time. And that wouldn't have happened without democratic elections. So, what is the best meaning of the word apartheid in the context of the essay? So, we had an explanation of an apartheid up here. An apartheid is where black people are forced to live in separate areas, have limited rights, and were not allowed to vote. Or at least this specific apartheid, right? It's segregation, it's separating two groups of people. So a system of racial equality, it's not equal. A system of racial segregation, that works because, again, if you understand what segregation means, it is basically separating two groups of people. So a form of government protest, nope, it's not protesting. A legal form of democracy, it isn't democracy, because democracy requires that everyone has the freedom to vote, basically. That's sort of like the definition of democracy. So option B is the right answer here. Question 12. What does the word legacy most likely mean in the sentence? Mandela passed away on the 5th of December 2013, but his legacy lives on. So, a legacy is like the impact that you leave on the world. It's not your personal wealth, written records, or family history. It's option C, the impact of his work and ideas. Question 13. In sentence, Mandela helped to create the secret group with ANC called the Umkhonto Wesizwe, which means Spear of Nation. What is the function of the phrase which means? So this section basically, right here, was the function of it. It doesn't describe it. Actually, that seems to be the best option. What it's doing really is it's explaining what this is, because it's a different language. But it doesn't introduce a new topic or show his beliefs, or refer to the ANC. It's basically, yeah, I mean, A is the best fit in this case, but it's describing what this means. Question 14. Which of the following sentences from the essay is complex sentence? So, a complex sentence is one where you've got a dependent clause and an independent clause. So one clause or one section of the sentence will basically be dependent on the other, so you can't have it independently. And this section of the clause, or like second or first, doesn't matter which one of them can be a standalone sentence. So if we look at these options, to be honest, none of them actually have two clauses. Only B, where it's got this comma here, and you've got two different clauses. So despite tough conditions, Mandela remains strong. So here is the independent section, which you could just say a standalone sentence, Mandela remains strong. And this section, you couldn't stay along, this depends on that. So find the punctuation error or choose E if none exist. The concert was amazing, but because of traffic we arrived late and missed the opening song. So this one needs a comma right here. So the concert was amazing, pause, but because of traffic, pause, we arrived late and missed the opening song. So option B, he prepared all his ingredients, vegetables, spices, sauces and pots were ready for cooking the meal. So you can see that was a bit clunky. What we've got here is, if we're using a colon here, this needs to be a list. So it's basically saying he prepared all his ingredients, and these are his ingredients: vegetables, spices, sauces and pots. Now you can see the issue here. A pot isn't an ingredient. You could say the other three are ingredients, but pots shouldn't be part of that list if that is the case. So it would actually make a lot more sense for this to be a semicolon, where this is a separate clause. He's saying he prepared all the ingredients, and then it goes on just to speak about everything that he's prepared for cooking the meal. So they're two separate things. So the issue here would be B. That would need to be a semicolon for the sentence to make sense. Question 17. I can't believe the rain stopped just as we were about to leave the house. Now this one will need a comma right here. I can't believe the rain stopped, pause, and then just as we were about to leave the house. Option B. Question 18. During the trip to Paris, we visited several famous landmarks, including the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre. We should have a comma here after Paris, so during the trip to Paris, and then you go ahead and explain what you did. So option A would be the issue there. Question 19. Are you certain that the meeting will take place tomorrow afternoon at the usual venue? Now this one is clearly a question. He's asking, are you certain? Alright, so that should be a question mark right here, so the option D will be the correct answer there. Okay, now find the misspelling, or choose E for none. So Harry felt a shiver down his spine and entered the dimly lit dungeon. So there should be an E here, dungeon, for C. The Marauders map revealed secret passageways throughout the school, helping the students navigate undetected by professors. This is how we should spell professors, so option D is the incorrect answer there. Hermione cast a complicated spell, and a shimmering barrier appeared. So you can see there are 3 R's here, that's a mistake, should be B. Ron's fear of spiders grew worse when Aragog's huge shadow loomed over him in the forest. Option D, because there shouldn't be 2 R's in forest. The house elves worked tirelessly in kitchens, preparing a magnificent feast. Feast needs an A, so option C is the answer there. Fill in the blank with the best choice of words. The student waited eagerly for the headmaster to deliver his important announcement. Delivering his important announcement, or delivered. Again, this is past tense, whereas this is not past tense, so it would have to be A. 26. Even though it was raining, they decided to go for a walk. In spite the wet weather, that doesn't make sense. Despite, that works. Although the wet weather, or because of the wet weather, none of these work. So despite the wet weather is the only one that fits into that sentence. Question 27. After she finished her homework, Sarah realized she had forgotten to bring her textbook to the class. Brings wouldn't work because it's not in the correct tense here. Forgotten to bringing, again, that wouldn't work. And forgotten to brought, again, wouldn't work because you've already used the past tense word right here, forgotten. So had forgotten to bring her textbook to the class, option A. The football match was delayed due to heavy rain that flooded the pitch and made it unplayable. Although wouldn't work there. delayed during heavy rain that flooded the pitch and made it unplayable. So this is in past tense, so during wouldn't work well here. The football match was delayed because of heavy rain that flooded the pitch and made it unplayable. Now both of those options worked, so I've changed one of them. Option B is now because it, and that wouldn't work. So if the football match was delayed because it heavy rain, that doesn't make sense, so our answer here is going to be A. The teacher asked the students if they had submitted their assignments by the due date. That's the only one that works, because if they had submit their assignments, that's not working. If they had submits, it's not plural, and if they had submitting, it's the wrong tense. Question 30. The dog wagged its tail happily when it saw, because this is in past tense, wagged. And that's it, that's the end of the comprehension, or the English section. Okay, math section. Question 1. A school has a sports day. The winner of each event scores 10 points. This chart shows the points scored by each team. So they won the 100 meter and they won the relay. So that is 2 events that they won. Question 2. Which team came second in the relay? Now we've got 8 is very clearly the second place because it's the second highest winner. So if we look at who got 8 in relay, it was blue. So C would be the option answer here. Question 3. Cinema tickets cost £3.65 each. Hannah buys 4 tickets. So if you do £3.65 times 4, we get 14.6. So that'll be £14.6, which is option B. Nico buys box of popcorn, 2 milkshakes. So that's £1.95, and this times 2. If you times this by 2, you'll get £2.50. If we add those together, that will give us around £4.45, which is option E. Question 5. Plastic cups are sold in packs of 8. Amir needs 27 cups. How many packs must he buy? So if there's a pack of 8, if he buys 3 packs of 8, he'll actually get 24. He needs 27, so that means he'll need to actually buy 4 packs, because 3 won't be enough. So option C would be the answer there. 4 packs would actually give him 32, which means he'd have a bit more than needed. Question 6. There are 30 paper plates in a pack. Amir buys 2 packs. He uses 37 plates. How many are left? So 2 packs will give us 60 paper plates, because you do 2 times 30. And if he uses only 37, what we can do is we can minus 37 from that. And that will give us 23, which is option D. Here are 3 supermarket bills. Tom rounds up each bill to the nearest £10 and then adds them up. So if you round this up to the nearest 10, this is £70. Because it's 4, right? So it's less, so it rounds down actually. This one should round up to 10, add to 70 because it's 65, and this one should round up to 60. And then adds them up, so 70 plus 70 plus 60 is £200. And that's option C. Question 8. Mary adds up the 3 bills exactly. What is the difference between her total and Tom's total? So if we add up all of these numbers together, we will get 199.63. And if we find the difference between those two, it's just 37p, which is option A. If you add 37p to this, you'll get £200. Okay, question 9. This chart shows the times when 5 children were swimming were at a swimming pool one afternoon. So who was the next person to arrive after Stefan? So Stefan arrives earliest. Next earliest is Lara, option A. Who spent the longest time at the swimming pool? Well, that'll be whoever spent like the longest width, right? So this guy came from 4:15 and left at 5. It looks like 5:05. So that's around 50 minutes. This guy's Amir didn't stay for that long. Stefan seems to have stayed from 4, I'm not sure, that's like 4:10, 4:12, all the way until this is like 4:50. That's not as much as Lara. Grace stays from around like 4:17 until 5:15. That's actually quite long. That's almost an hour as well. Tom again isn't that close. So it's between Lara and Grace now. So let's get a bit more accurate on these and try and figure out who actually stayed the longest. So if we go to the halfway point, this is 4:22, I'd say, around. Right, and Lara, it looks like this would be around 4:20. So Lara came in at 4:20, left at 5:15, which is 55 minutes. Sorry, Grace, I'm talking about Grace. And then Lara came in at 4:15 and actually leaves. Let's look at where the middle line would go. So this section is around 5:07, because that's like halfway between these two. And basically she's leaving just before 5:07. I'd say that is roughly 5:05. And 4:15 to that is actually 50 minutes. So from our rough estimates, it looks like Grace actually stays longer. If you're doing this on paper, right, you've got an advantage, because all you can do, you can just measure the length of these and see which one is actually longer. And you'd get Grace. So the option here would be D. Question 11. Jean owns an art gallery. For the last 6 months, she worked out the following. This amount of people visited the gallery. It was open for this amount of hours total. For 30% of the time the gallery was open, she had 4 visitors per hour. For 1/4 of the time the gallery is open, she had 6 visitors per hour. Now work out the mean number of visitors per hour visiting the gallery for the remaining time. So because we've got 30% of the time we've got 4 visitors, and this is 25% if you convert that fraction to a percentage of the time you've got 6 visitors. What it means by the remaining time is for the other 45% of the time that the shop is open, what is the mean number of visitors that are coming in per hour. So what we can do is we can basically figure out 30% of this, how many hours is that, how many hours have we used up. So let's figure out 10% is 124, therefore 30% will just be 3 times that, which will be at 372. And that means for 372 hours we had 4 visitors per hour. So let's figure out how many visitors that was. That was 1,448 visitors. Okay, let's also figure out the 25%, right? So 25% of 1,240 is basically just dividing it by 4, or a quarter, right? And a quarter of 1,240 is 310. And if we figure out how many visitors we had in this sort of 25% of the time area that they're talking about. We just times it by 6, and that will give us 1,860. And now these are the numbers of people that we've already used up in this. What we had 55% total time with these two that it's talking about, right? So 55% of the time we had this plus this many visitors. So let's actually add those together. What we'll get is 3,308. So then the remaining 45% of the time that they're asking about, we had basically this number minus 7,254 people, right, come through. So if we actually do that subtraction, what we'll get is 46 actually, and that's how many people came for the remaining 45% of the time. Let's actually figure out what 45% of the time was, because then we can find the mean number of visitors, right? Because we've got the number of hours, sorry, the number of people that are coming in this remaining 45% of the time. We just need the hours, and then we can figure out the mean by dividing them together, right? So 10% was 124. To 45%, we just have to times 124 by 4 to get 40%, which is 496. And then also 124, I'd do half of that, which is 62, and we can add that together, because half of 124 will be 5%, right? Which is, so 62 is 5%. So I'm adding 5% to 40% here. There's a lot of steps, so try and keep track of it. If you got stuck, rewatch this section of the video. So 62 plus 492, that means 554 hours is the sort of remaining time that they're talking about here. So we basically had, in the remaining time that they haven't listed out in this section, we had 3,946 visitors in 554 hours. So now if you're asked to work out the mean number of visitors per hour, this is much easier. You just have to divide them together. So if we do the division, 554 into 3946, we should get a number here. So how many times does 554 get multiplied? Well, we could try 5, or even we could try, I believe, 6. Let's try it here. Let's try 7. We'll get 7 times 4 will give us 28. Okay, so we get 3878 here. Now, if we put 7 up here and put 3878 down here, and we minus these, we'll get a small remainder. It looks like 68 over remainder. Now we could go into decimal points on this division, but I think none of the answer options have decimal points, and you can't really have 7 point something visitors, right? So we've got our answer right here, which is 7, or if we round down, it'll probably be around 7. And that is why the option C is the correct answer here. If you have 7 visitors per hour for all 554 hours, you'll get the remainder number of people that we've got. Another way to visualize this question, if I rub everything out, is the information that they gave us here is basically, they said, if I draw it into a pie chart, they said for 25% of the time a certain amount of people came, and also for 1/3, oh sorry, was it a third? No, it was 30%. So it was like this, basically. Another percentage of people came. and it said for this percentage we had 6 visitors per hour. For this one we had 4 visitors per hour. We wanted to figure out what the mean was in this section. So what we had to do is we had to reverse engineer it. We had to figure out how many visitors were actually used up in this section and how many hours, and then also how many visitors were used up in this section and how many hours. And then once we had that, we figured out how many visitors and hours were left over, and then we figured out the mean of this section, which was 7 visitors per hour was the average for the remaining 45% of the time that the museum was open. Okay, question 12. Circle 3 numbers which add to make 190. So here we've got 90 and 70 will give us 160, and if we add 30 to that as well, we'll get 190. So 90, 70 and 30 here is option B. And let's move on to question 13 now. A shop sells food for birds. Lara has £10 to spend on peanuts. How many bags of peanuts can she buy for £10? So there is £1.35 for a bag. If she buys 9 of these, right? If we do this multiplication, let's figure out what that will be. That will go over. That will give us £12.15. So let's try 7 maybe. Actually, I probably shouldn't have even tried 9 because it's not in the options. So we should try straight away 7, right? And if we do that, we'll get £9.45 as our answer. And she obviously can't buy any more peanuts, so A would be the correct option here. You could also, if you wanted to, do £1.35 divided by 10, and to do that you basically just have to change it to 135 divided by 100. Sorry, 1,000, and then you can do the long division this way and you'd get 7 point something, right? But you'd have 7 and a remainder something. Okay, question 14. Amir has £20. He wants to buy a bird feeder. 4 bags of bird seed. And 4 bags of bird seed, sorry. The bird feeder is £8.95. And the bird seeds are £3.79 each. So let's times that. Times 4. We'll get 15.16, and if we add the £8.95 to that, we'll get 24.11. So how much more money does he need than £20? Well, the difference between £20 and 24.11 is £4.11. So that's how much more money he needs. Question 15. Here's a recipe for fruit smoothies. Stefan uses the recipe to make smoothies, and he uses 1 litre of yogurt. How many strawberries does he use? So if using 1 litre of yogurt, he's probably using a lot more of everything else as well. So 1 litre of yogurt is 4 times the amount of yogurt in the recipe. So he'll probably have to use 4 times the amount of strawberries, which would be 40 strawberries. So that would be option B. Question 16. Amir uses the same recipe, and he wants to make 5 smoothies. He has 1 litre of orange juice. So how many more milliliters of orange juice does he need? So it looks like this recipe is just for 1 smoothie. Oh, sorry, it looks like it says 2 smoothies. So half a litre makes 2, that means 1 litre will make 4 smoothies, and you need an extra quarter of a litre to make 1 extra smoothie, right? Because if half a litre is 2, a quarter of a litre will be 1. So you need 1 1/4 litres total. Now, it says how many more millilitres on top of the 1 litre will you need? Well, a quarter of a litre is 250 millilitres. So you'll need 250 millilitres extra. Question 17. Plants are sold in trays of 20. Ivana buys 7 trays of plants. How many plants is this? So 20 times 7 will give us 140, option E. David wants 240 plants. How many trays does he need to buy? So if we do 240 divided by 20, because that's how many are in a tray, that will give us 12. Question 19. How much does it cost to hire a rowing boat for 3 hours? So this is £2.50. If we times that by 3, we'll get £7.50, option B. Sasha pays £3 to hire a motorboat. She goes out at 3:20 p.m. By what time must she return? So if you paid £3 for a motorboat, that means she paid for 30 minutes. If she left at 3:20 and add 30 minutes to that, you should get 3:50, which is C. Question 21. Here are 5 shapes on a square grid. Which 2 shapes fit together to make a square? So let's have a think about this. If you look at this option C, if you just fill this gap in, you'll have a square, right? With all of the other options, or this one, option B, if you fill this gap in, you'll have a square. And with this one, you'll have this gap. Now, we've only got one triangle shape here, so we have to figure out which one will this fit into. So, to me, this is a 2-block height. This requires 3-block height. So I don't think it can be that. It also is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks long. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is definitely not going to fit. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2. D fits perfectly into B to make a square. So it should be B and D. Class 6 did a survey of their favourite types of storybook. Here are their results. So how many more children chose adventure books than fantasy books? So we've got 7 children chose animal, and then 9 chose adventure, and 4 chose fantasy. So 5 more than 4 is 9, so the option is B. 5 girls chose animal books. How many boys chose animal books? So here we've got 7 who chose animal. If 5 of those are girls, then 2 of them are going to be boys, which is option A. Question 24. Anjali has £8,000 to invest in an investment plan. Here is information about 2 investment plans: Sterling Services and Jupiter Investments. So you've got compound interest, which means 3% interest on the first year and 2.2% each year after that. And this one is just 2.5% interest each year. So Anjali wants to have as much money as possible in her investment plan at the end of 2 years. Which is the better investment, Sterling or Jupiter? So interest means it will increase by 3% each year. So with this one, if she puts £8,000 into him the first year it will increase by 3%. So if we do 8,000, we can either work out 3% and then add that on, or we can just times it by 1.03, which is another way of saying 103% of 8,000. So it'll be basically adding the 3% back on immediately. So actually, if you're doing it by hand, it'll probably be easier to work out the 3%, so let's do that. Well, 1% is going to be 80, therefore 3% is going to be 240. So if we add 240 that, we'll get 8,240 in the first year, and then 2.2% in the next year will be added. So it'll be to this value, not to this value. So 1% of this is 82.40. And we have to figure out 2.2%, right? So first of all, let's find out what 2% of this is. 82.40 times 2 is 164.8. And 2.2 or 0.2%, sorry. So if we find out 0.1% of this number is going to be 8.24 pounds. And again, if we times that by 2, we'll get 1.648 pounds. So that is 0.2%. So not 1.684, it'll be 16.48. That is 0.2% of this new number which is in her bank account after the first year, because the interest only happens on the new number, not the old number, right? So we have 16.48 added to this. If we add those together, 16.48 and 164.8, what we'll get is 181.28 pounds added in the final year. So if we actually add that to what she had in her bank account on after the first year, we'll get 8,421.28 pounds after 2 years. That's how much money she makes just by putting it into sterling services. Now let's figure out how much she'll make from Jupiter Investments. So if you find out 1% is going to be £80, 2% is going to be £160, and 0.5%, we know 1% is 80 and 0.5% is 40, so that means 2.5% total. This is 2%, this is 0.5%. If we add those together, we'll get £200, right? So the first year, £200 is added. He's ended up with £8,200 total. Now, the second year, it's going to be another 2.5%, and this time it's going to be starting off with this number. So 1% of this is £82. Therefore 2% of this is going to be £164. And 0.5% of this, we're only working this out so we can figure out what 2.5% is. 0.5% of 82, of 8,200, sorry, is 41. And now we add 164 to 41 to give us £205. And again, just to clarify what this is, what this number is, £205 is just 2.5% of this new number that is in her bank account after the first year. All we have to do here now is add that £205 to Jupiter Investments, or to, sorry, what we've got here. So 8,200 add 205 will be 8,405. Now, which of these numbers is bigger? Sterling Services is bigger, so A will be the better investment because she'll be making more money. So, a bag contains only red counters and blue counters. This is question 25, by the way. There are 90 red counters in the bag. The probability of choosing a red counter from the bag is 0.3. How many blue counters are in the bag? So what we know here is 90 red counters has led to a 0.3 probability. Now it's asking how many blue counters are in the bag. We know because there's only red and blue counters, the remaining probability of picking a blue counter will be 0.7. So if you set up a sort of diagram or equation sort of looking like this, it should be familiar with you. You can always do, how did we get from here to here? Like what did we times by to get from here to here? And you can do the same thing from here to here and you will get your answer. So 0.3 times what gets you to 7? Well, we could figure that out by doing 3 divided by 7. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm timesing both of these numbers by 10 to make the division easier. 3 goes into 7 twice and we get 6. If we minus this, we'll get 1 as a remainder. If we put a decimal point here, we can bring a 0 down, and 3 times 3 will give us 9. And then if we do that again, we'll keep getting the same thing. So 3 times 3 will be 9 again, and this will keep going on. So our answer here is 2.33 recurring, but we can just go with 2.3 or 2.33. And all we have to do here is times this by 2.33 or 2.3, wherever it works, because our answer will be rounded up anyway. So if we times this by 2.33, we just do the multiplication as normal, and we just have to make sure that we put the decimal point, because there's 2 numbers behind the decimal point here. We have to go 1, 2, and oh, my mistake. We should get left with 2970, because there's 2 decimal points here. We go 1, 2, and the decimal point goes here. So the answer to this is 209.7. Now, obviously we can round that up to 210 counters in the bag. And that is actually the closest answer we've got, which is option C for our answer here. So if this is 210, that makes our probability to pick this counter 0.7 or 70%, and a probability to pick this counter 30%. Okay, question 26 now. The table below shows you change in value of Seesaw PLC shares. So over the last 3 years, the share price has gone up by 25%, then down by 40%, and then up by 40%. Says a note, the percentage change each year is based upon the value at the start of that year and at the end of that year. So this went up by 25%, and then it went down 45% compared to this, and then compared to this. So currently the percentage change in Seesaw PLC shares from the start of 2004 to the end of 2006. So we can't just look at the difference, because what's happening is, let's say in 2003 we've got 100% of the price, right? What's happening is it's going to 125% now. So 25%, 100. So in 2004, the price is at 125% of the original price in 2003. Now to find 40% of that price, we just divide that by 10 to find 10%, which is 12.5. We times that by 4 to find 40% of that, which is going to be 50%. Now this can get a bit confusing, but basically let's use the standard number of 50 as the decrease, right? So we just have to take away 50 from 125, and that means now the price is 75% of the original price in 2003. So you can see in 2005 we've actually had a loss compared to 2003. Now what we have to do is find out 10% of this number, which is 7.5, and then times that by 4 to get 40%, which will give us 30. And then obviously that's an increase, so we can add that to this number, which will give us 105%. And now what's happened here is it's saying that in 2006 the price is 105% of what we had in 2003. So it's only increased by 5% actually. Now what that means is the answer is B. Okay, question 27. Here are two 30cm strips of card. One is divided into thirds and the other is divided into quarters. What is the total length of the arrangement? Okay, so what we've got here is these are all 10 centimeters long, and if we divide the 30 by 4, what we'll figure out is each of these are 7.5 centimeters long. Now we need to figure out the length of here to here. So ideally we need to know what is the length of here to here, because we know this is 30, we just need to add this number, this length here. So how we're going to do that is we already know this is 10, we just need to figure out this mystery length. Now this is 7.5 here and this is 10, so what's the difference between this and this? It's 2.5, right? And that's the mystery length, right? So we've got 2.5 for this little section right here, we've got 10 here, so the total length of this X is 12.5, and that's basically given us the length of this whole section. We just have to add that to 30 now, which will give us 42.5 as our answer, option C. Okay, question 28. So this is basically showing us repeating numbers. So 556, 484, 33 repeated digits, right? It says how many whole numbers between 1 and 201 have repeated digits. Now the only way to do this is to count them. You can try and go by sets, right? So there's different types of numbers, and I've written these all out because I tried doing them by hand and then it took a very long time, and I thought I might as well just write them all out. So what we've got here is all of the double digits in the twos, right? 11, 22, 33, etc. There's 9 of these. Then you've got 100, which has got 2 zeros, and you've got 101, which has got 2 ones, 110, which has got 2 ones, and then from there it's a bit of a pattern again, right? So it's 11 and 12, oh sorry, everything between 110 and 119 basically counts because they've got two ones, and that's 12 numbers within this sort of short range right here. And then it's a bit of a pattern because you've got 121 and 122, and then you've got 131 and then 133, right? So it's basically doing the duplicates in this placeholder and then the duplicates in these, right? And if you count all of these up all the way through to 199, you'll get 16 numbers for that. And then the final number here we've got is 200 with again 2 double zeros. And if you add all of these together, 9 plus 16 plus 12 and plus 1, what you'll get is there are 38 numbers that have repeating digits. Okay, question 29. Purple paint is made by mixing red and blue paint in the ratio of 3 to 1. Purple fire paint or purple sea paint is made by mixing red and blue paint in the ratio of 1 to 3. 1 liter of purple fire is mixed with 500 milliliters of purple sea. By mistake, how much red paint needs to be added to the mixture to make purple fire again? Okay, so we have to figure out what purple fire will be. So 1 liter of purple fire, right, is 3 to 1 in red and blue. So if we think about how we got 1 liter, if it's 3 to 1, red and blue, we can split this up. 3 parts red and 1 part blue. If you think about the total of this, it's basically 4, meaning this one is 1 over 4, this is 3 over 4. That's the best way to figure out ratios, is you add them up, you figure out what the denominator will be because it's 4. So that means we've got 1/4 of the litre is going to be blue paint, 3/4 of it is going to be red paint. So that means if you figure out what 1/4 is, it's 250 mils. And this one's going to be 750 mils of red and blue. Basically that is mixed with 500 milliliters of purple C. So if we figure out what purple C will be, again this is just 1 over 4 and 3 over 4, but this time it's 500 milliliters. So 1/4 of 500 milliliters is 125 milliliters. That's how much red is in here. And 3/4 of it is not 750, sorry. It's going to be 250 added to 125, which is 375 milliliters. That's how much blue is in here. So now when they're mixing these together, 1 litre and 5 milliliters, we're just going to add all of these together. And let's figure out what the final mix is going to be like. So if we add all the reds together, we'll get 875 milliliters of red, and we will have, if we add 375 to 250, we will have 625 milliliters of blue. This is red, this is blue. Now this is how much red paint needs to be added to the mixture to make it purple fire again. So purple fire needs to be 3/4 red and 1/4 blue. So if we figure out, basically it needs to be 3 times more than how much blue we have. So if we do 625 times 3, we need this to be 1875 milliliters for it to be purple fire again. And if you see the difference between these two, it's 1 litre basically, or 1000 milliliters, sorry. So the option here will be D. 30, so there are 3 dice numbered 1 to 6. 1 is red, 2 is red, sorry, and 1 is purple. Now all 3 dice are rolled. What is the probability that the total on the 2 red dice will equal the score on the purple dice? So with these ones we have to brute force it and figure out how many different variations can we have. So we can have 1 and 2 on the red dice, which will need the purple to have 3. Then we can have 1 and 1 as well. I should probably put that at the top. 1 and 1, which equals 2. And then we've got 1 and 3, which equals 4. 1 and 4, which equals 5. 1 and 5, which equals 6. And then we go again, 2 and 1. So this one would need to be 3. Now I've just copy and pasted out all of the different variations that we can have just to make it quicker, and if we count these up, there are 15 different variations that we've got. So that is, you can see 1 and 1 on the reds, and then obviously 2 on the purple, 1 and 2, and then 3, and then exactly, and we keep going. 5 and 1 makes us 6. So if these ones we can't have anything more, then for example if we had 4 and 3, the purple wouldn't be able to be big enough. So we've got 15 different variations here, and the probability of each of these variations, if you think about what's the probability of it landing on 1 on the red dice, it's 1 over 6 because there's 1 out of the 6, right? Same with the 1 on this dice and the 1 on and the 2 on this dice. So the probability of each of these actual instances is 1 over 6 times 1 over 6 times 1 over 6, which is actually 1 over 216. Now we have 15 of these, right? We have 15 different variations of 1 over 216. Because all of them are completely separate events, what we can do is we can just add up all of them. So that will leave us with the probability that we have any of these events as 15 over 216. So if you think about it, there's actually 211 other dice rolls that could have occurred that wouldn't add up to 216. And if you want to, you can try and figure out what those 216 would be. But that sort of justifies, if you can figure it out, that will explain why your answer here is right. Now, all we have to do here is simplify that. And 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 3 goes into 216 72 times. So our answer here is option A, 5 over 72. Question 31. Posters by post. All posters £2.75 each. Postage and packing extra. Okay, so posters cost £2.75 each. You have to pay postage and package as well. Zeke has £50. How many posters can he get by post if he spends £50? Alright, so how many, let's figure out, if he gets, let's say, 10 posters, that'll cost him £27.50, and the packaging will cost £3.25. So that's obviously under our limit. Now if we go a bit higher, let's say he does 20 posters, that will be too much, so we need somewhere in between that. Let's say 15 posters of £2.75, that would cost him £41.25 in just posters. And what we can do from there is the packaging costs £3.25 for 1 to 10 posters, and then £6. The packaging will cost £6 basically. So that's alright. It only gives us the £47. So what we can do is we can increase this a bit more. We can order a few more posters. So let's say one more, and that'll give us 44 £44 in terms of posters, and then £6 in packaging. So that's 16 posters will cost him basically £50. So that's exactly how many he can get, which is option B. So this, the easiest way again is to trial and error. If you look at 10, you see it's too low. If you look at 20, you see it would cost too much. And if you look at 15, just by guesstimating, you figure out, oh, it's actually quite close. All I need to do is add one more, and we're there. So option B is the answer. That is the end of the math section. NVR analogy question 1. We've got from here the bottom white turns grey, so they should turn grey. Let's cancel out these ones. Also, the lines here seem to come to the front. So these ones should have lines in front, unlike B. And what else happens is these ones go inwards, so the outside posts go inwards and they swap, like these swap with this. So the triangles should be on the outside and they should be a different colour. You can see they should turn black, which leaves us with option D as the answer. Question 2. This is just a, first of all, 90-degree rotation to make an X shape, so this should also make an X shape. And what else happens is each of these seem to flip sides, so the grey here turns white and the white turns grey. So when we rotate this, instead of it being a flip, let's think of it like a rotation on the toggle, because the flip, we can't really apply that to this one. So if we think about how much, first of all, the entire shape is rotated, and then the toggle is rotated 180 degrees. So instead of it having a grey here, it's rotated to have it there. So when we rotate this, the arrow, this arrow, or this triangle, should be pointing this way, but it should then get rotated 180 degrees and it should be pointing upwards. So it can't be A, it should be like this. So if we cancel out any of them that aren't like that, we've either got E or B for the answer. Now, all of these are actually pointing anti-clockwise, and they should actually end up pointing clockwise by the end of it. So it can't be E, the answer here should be B. Question 3. We've got a grey circle that goes to the top left, the black circle goes to the middle, and the white circle goes to the right. So we'll do the same here. We should have the grey on the top left, black in the middle, and white at the bottom right. So it shouldn't be E because white is behind. And the only difference between D and B is the outer shape has dotted, it's become dotted or dashed, and D isn't dashed, so the answer should be B. Question 4 now. If this seems to reflect or basically rotate, so this is a 180 degree rotation, and then it's turned grey. So let's rotate this 180 degrees. The ball should be at the bottom, the rectangle should be here, the background should be grey, so it can't be these, and finally the lines should stay in the same position, meaning if we rotate this 180 degrees the line should be on the right side, so it shouldn't be B, it should be C. Question 5. We've got an arrow and an arrow. They stay the same, they just switch colours, so let's switch the colours of these. The top arrow should be grey, and this is pointing the wrong direction, and then the square should come in, become big, and it should turn into a straight line rather than being dashed. So option C is the answer there. Question 6. The square seems to go in and swap with the middle shape, which is a circle, or it basically just moves in and everything else moves outwards. So I would assume there should be a hexagon in the middle. Oh, it looks like it swaps. So if we swap this, because the only options here have them as swapping, there should be a hexagon in the middle, so it can't be these two, and the square is on the outside as usual. Now the color changes. This middle grey one should stay the same, so you should have a grey circle. The outside shape should turn black, so it shouldn't be D, and it looks like the inner shape should be grey, so it shouldn't be A because the inner shape is grey. Okay, question 7. We've got this rainbow looking thing is rotated 180 degrees, so this one should be upwards this way. So we can cancel out these two. Additionally, the colours seem to rotate again, like in like a conveyor belt fashion. Actually, they don't rotate, it's just the black and the grey swap. So the black and the grey on these ones should swap, meaning the outside should be black and the inside should be grey, which leaves us with this option B. Option A, so we've got this section that rotates 90 degrees. Actually the whole box rotates 90 degrees, so let's do that. That will give us something like this. And we can cancel out C because it's the wrong rotation, wrong orientation. And now let's look at where the boxes or the dots should be. So the dots should be on the bottom left, not on the top left. That's alright. And the colours, let's not look at the colours for now, let's just look at these dots are fine. These ones are in the wrong position. And these ones are in the wrong position, so we're left with A and D. Now the colour change that occurs from here to here is the whites turn black and the blacks turn white. So these two should be white, which means it can't be D, and therefore is option A. Okay, question 9. We've got a square here that is rotated 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So let's rotate this 90 degrees anti-clockwise. We should have the triangle pointing to the bottom left corner. So let's cancel out these ones. And now the only other difference is the patterns of the inside and the outside square are swapped. So this one should have dotted lines inside and straight lines outside, which means it's option C. Question 10. We've got a circle and a circle, so the circle goes to the outside. So this trapezium should be the outside shape. in my opinion. I think that would cancel out all of these and leave us with B, but let me just double check. From there, the bottom shape becomes the top two shapes, so this circle should be the top two shapes. Sorry, I made a mistake there. It's the circles, it's these shapes that are going to the outside, so it's this pentagon that should be on the outside. That means we can cancel out these ones. The trapezium should be inside. You can see the outside square moves in to the bottom, so the trapezium should be on the bottom, meaning it can't be E. And also the hexagon moves into these positions, so this circle should be here and here, meaning it can't be A, but it is D. Question 11, so with matrices we just have to look at which direction the pattern is happening. So probably here to here is a better position to look at, and then we can apply that rule from here to here. So it's basically the dots are reflecting, you can see the black ones are reflected. So this one should have a grey triangle here and a grey triangle here. So let's cancel out these three options. And now what else happens from here to here is it seems to add one more line to the vertical and the horizontal plane. Now let's add one more here and here, and we should have 3 lines vertically, 3 lines horizontally. That leaves us with option C because D has too many. Question 12. We have got this middle circle seems to go black. So let's make this middle square go black. Not A, not B, not D. E and C have the correct colouring there. Now the outside circle turns dashed. So let's look at which outside square turns dashed, or E is still straight, so we have C as our answer. Question 13, now we're on to NVR matrices. With these ones you just have to have a direction. You have to find out which direction the pattern is going. To me it looks like this rotation, or this pattern is going left to right, because you can see hexagons, pentagons. So it's going, the triangle is going, pointing left, then down, then right, so it's getting rotated. And same with this, and also the same with this. They're all rotating 90 degrees clockwise. So this triangle should be pointing downwards, so let's cancel out any of them that don't match that. And also the sizes, there should be a small hexagon, a big hexagon, and a medium-sized hexagon according to the other ones. So we should have a medium-sized hexagon, which is the same shape, no rotations. And E is too small, so we should be left with option C, because E is the same size as this one. Question 14. We've got 3 lines here, and we've got 1 and then 2. We've got 2, 3, 1, so I assume it's going to be 1, 2, 3. And what else we have is, when you have, it looks like the dots stay in the same place, but they rotate colours. So this one should be black, etc. Same thing's happening here, they're rotating clockwise. So this one should have a black dot here, a grey dot here, and a white dot here. So these ones don't match it, and A is the only one with 2 lines here, so option A is the answer. Question 15. We've got line here that seems to move down, and then the plus seems to move up and get a new shape around it. So I assume what's going to happen here, this is a pattern from here to here and also here to here. What we should have is this square should move up and like this, and then we should get a plus to have the opposite, which is like this. So that is option B here. Now we're looking at basically fundamentals. So again, we're looking at the top shape, or the shape that isn't the plus. The shape that isn't the plus gets moved down from here to here, and then the plus shape gets moved up, and this gets reflected. So that's what we've done here. We moved this one to the new position, moved the plus to the new position, and then we reflected the outer layer of that shape, and that gives us option B. Question 16 now. We've got grey circle, it's on the right and then in the middle and then on the left. So this is middle, left, right, so this should be right, middle, it's missing a left one. So we can cancel out any of them, don't have a left one. We've also got 3 of these lines here, 2 and 1. This has got 2, 1 and 3. So again, there's always 1, 2 and 3 in this pattern. So we've only got 2 and 3 on this length, but we haven't got 1. So it should be a 1 right here. Can't be these ones because they don't have 1. And this one is pointing the wrong way. If you see, these ones are all pointing downwards, so it should match. So option D is the answer. Question 8 now. This is back to analogy. We seem to rotate 90 degrees clockwise. So let's rotate this 190 degrees clockwise. We should have a oval on the right hand side. So let's cancel out these two. Now what else changes is the square and the thing and the line stay in the same position. So it should be like this. So it shouldn't be A. And we lose one line. So you can see we lose one line from here to here. So we should only have 2 lines here. So it shouldn't be E, it should be C. Question 18. From right to left, the envelope from this basically just opens, or like we add a triangle, and then this one loses its triangle. So what should happen here from right to left, if it looks like it's already happened, so it should actually have the white one with a triangle and this one without a triangle but still a stamp. If you can see what that means, or we can even go from right to left from here to here, right? This triangle again just moves down here, so this triangle should move to the top because it's the opposite, and the stamp should stay the same in the same place. We've got A that looks the most like that, the other ones don't match. C has got it in the wrong position, and these ones have got them flipped. Question 19. If we have the shape on the left, it's going like this, our pattern. The left shape gets rotated 90 degrees clockwise, and then it gets rotated 90 degrees clockwise again. So if we look at this pattern as well, it seems to be doing the same thing, 90 degrees clockwise. So let's rotate this L shape 90 degrees clockwise. We should have something like this. And if we cancel out C and D and E, we'll get A and B as our options. Now, we've got the grey and the grey here. That seems to swap, so the colours swap from left to right, and then they swap again. So let's swap these colours. We should have a grey on the outside, grey on the outside, so it can't be A. And it looks like B is the correct option, even though the printing here is a bit bad. Hopefully that will be fixed in the actual print that you get. Question 20. We're rotating again left to right. Our pattern is this way. The triangle rotates 90 degrees and changes its lining, and the same this way, but it seems to be rotating anti-clockwise for these guys, but clockwise for these guys. So to figure out which way we should be, actually it isn't rotating clockwise, I don't think. From here, if we look at the point, it's pointing down, then pointing this way, and then pointing this way. So it is actually clockwise. So all of these are rotating clockwise, meaning this one should rotate clockwise, should be pointing down. So let's cancel out these two options. And the line thickness, we've already got a thick one and a dashed one. We should have a normal lined one, because each of these rows has all 3, so it should be option A. Question 21, NVR series. Now it's pretty similar to what we had in matrices, but now it's just one way. So we've got left to right, the triangle is rotating 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So let's apply that. We'll get a triangle that should be pointing downwards. Additionally, it's going circle, pentagon, triangle, circle, pentagon. So it shouldn't be E, it should be A. Question 22. We've got big circle, small circle, and then big circle and small circle. So what I might assume here is this one should be a big circle. If it's going big, small, oh no, actually that wouldn't work. What we could have here is we have grey. So it's grey, white, grey, something like that. So we can cancel out these two options. And then in terms of sizes, I think it looks like the grey ones are just getting smaller each time and the white ones are getting bigger. So if you look, white from here to here is getting a bit bigger, and grey from left to right is actually, this one's a bit smaller. So I'd assume it would be something in between those two sizes, which looks like A. I wouldn't say this one is medium, so I think actually a better explanation here, because we've got large, medium, and then something, and then large, medium, it looks like it would be large, medium, small, large, medium, small. So this one should be a small grey shape. Again, we've got the alternating colours and the sizes going big, small, big, smaller, smaller, and then big, small, smaller. So it's two different patterns, it's hard to spot, but that is the answer for question 22, option E. Okay, question 23. We've got 3 x's, and then 2 x's, and then 1 x, and then 4 x's. And then I'd assume it would go down to 3 x's again. But if we look at what that's correlated to, we've got 2 lines of the hexagon for 3 x's, we've got 3 lines of the hexagon for 2 x's, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of the hexagon for 1 x, and when we have 5 lines of the hexagon, we have 5 x's. So if the next one should definitely have 6 lines of the hexagon, which would be B or D. So it can only be 3 x's because those are the only 2 options that we've got left. Now, where do the x's go is a question, or like where do we remove them from? So from here, from the right to the left, it's losing on the left side. So does it lose from the left or the right here? Okay, so it's always removing a line from the left side. So when it goes 3, 2, 1, 4, and there's going to be 3, it should be 3 over here, and it should have removed 1 from the left. So it's option B. Question 24. We've got 1 black circle that the shape seems to get reflected, and then another black circle is added, then reflected, black circle added, and this one should have 4 black circles, so we can cross out this option, and they should be starting from the bottom, so we can cross out this option and this option, and then the final thing that changes is a line is removed on each go, so there should only be 3 lines left, so option E is the answer. Question 25, we got a clockwise rotation, so the triangle should be pointing towards the left. We can cancel out these 2 options. The inside triangle goes white, black, black. This one should be white, so we can cancel out D. The outside triangle goes black, grey, white, black, grey, so it should be C. Question 26, so it's rotating clockwise here. No, it's rotating anti-clockwise, so it should have this shape at the top and the circles at the bottom, so we can cancel out these 2. B has got it pointing the wrong way, and then the other thing that changes is the circles actually always stay in the same position, so this one is the one that should be grey, which leaves us with option D and not E. The answer, question 27, if we rotate this 90 degrees and then rotate it again, this one should be horizontal. So we can cross out B, we can cross out D. It also switches colours, grey to white, white to grey. it should be white next, so we can cross out E and A, so we're left with option C as the answer. Question 28. This goes, we're losing a black circle each time. So you've got 3 blacks, and then there'll be 2 blacks, and there'll be 1 black. So it should be 2 blacks at the bottom. We can cross out all of these options apart from C, just to check out that we're doing it correctly. So question 28, it's going 3, 2, 1, 0, 4 in terms of how many blacks there are. So we can cross out A and B. It could be any of these because we don't know which black circle is going to get removed next. It's also going, the inside circle goes grey, then we'd assume white, then black, then grey, then white, then black. So it shouldn't be C. And also we've got the line, so we've got a 2 line, and then we can assume it's adding 1 more line from left to right, then adding another line, and then it's going back to 1 line, then 2 lines, etc. So it should have 3 lines here, which means it isn't E, so the answer should be D. Question 29. We've got 4 black squares here, and then 3. Next one is 4, and then 2. It looks like actually the black squares and the white squares are just switched. So on this shape we should have 2 white squares in the bottom corner, and everything else should be black, which means we can cancel out A, B, C and D. What else is happening is we're losing a square from the top left each time. So this is gone, and then it should be this one that is gone, which is the same as. So question 30. From left to right it's rotating, the plus is rotating, or the whole thing is actually rotating around 45 degrees, and this one should be a plus shape. It should also be grey because you can see it goes grey, white, grey, and the only other thing that is changing is as it's rotating, the white and the grey are flipping, so it goes flip, flip, flip. So actually when it's up here, this is the one that should be grey, this is the one that should be white. Now that crosses out all of these apart from answer option B. Question 31, NVR codes. So we have a duplicate here with a J and a J, so we can assume the J means a black circle, and then therefore K would mean white circle. So the answer should have a white circle or a K, so let's cross out B. We've also got S and S, which probably represents the grey arrow, and R would mean white arrow, so grey arrow. This should have an S, so we can cancel out these two. And D, B and C all mean different things. All of the arrows are pointing different ways, so D likely means this arrow, so it should start with a D. Option A is the answer. Question 32. We've got a V and a V here. The similarity on these two are that they're both grey, so V probably represents grey. X would therefore represent white and Z would represent black, so the triangle should end with Z. All of the left hand letters are different, and that probably represents the shape that they are. So the triangle would therefore mean L, so it should be LZ, option D. Question 33. We have B and B. They seem to represent the pentagon that they've got. And then C would mean that arrow. This is an arrow, so it should start with C. H and H seems to be the direction they're pointing. So right would mean H, upwards would mean G. This is pointing upwards, so it should be a G. And then U, W and V are all different, that's probably representing the color of the circle. This is a black circle, so it should have U at the end, which is option D. Question 34. We've got T and T, which represents likely the black square in the top right and the white square in the bottom left. U would therefore represent the opposite, so this should start with U. Now, D and D likely represents the grey circle in the middle. E would mean black circle, so it should be UC, which is option E. Question 35. We've got 3 trapeziums, and B here. This likely means big, small, small, because that's what they've got here. And then A would mean big, small, big, and C would mean all the same size. So this is an A formation, because it's big, small, big. So let's cancel out these ones. And then all of these have different letters, probably representing the different shapes that they are. So a hexagon would be P, meaning the answer would be B. Question 36. L seems to represent a black circle, and K would mean a white circle, so this should start with a K. G and G seems to mean a white arrow, so F would mean a grey arrow, should end with an F. Then all of these are different, probably meaning which way they're pointing. So T would mean pointing up, so this should have a T in the middle, which is option E. Question 37. So D and D here likely means that we've got this pattern of smallest to biggest. No, actually that's not what it means. It probably means having only one grey shape, and then E would mean having 2 grey shapes, because that's the only similarity I can find. This has 2 grey shapes, so it should have E in the middle, which is left out only 3 options now. Now Q and Q seems to mean the direction, so big, small, smaller, left to right, and then P would mean right to left. This is right to left. So we're left with option C as our only answer. Question 38. We have a triangle that seems to be, we've got S and S right here. That probably indicates the white shape on the outside. The grey shapes on the outside are T. So T would mean grey shape, so we can cancel out option D. We've got 2 Y's here, that probably indicates the black circle in the middle. Then Z would indicate the black square, so it should end with a Z. And the final option here, all of these are different letters indicating their different shapes. This is a cross, so it should be the same as this option, meaning it should start with a K. So option B is the answer here. Question 39. We've got E and E. It seems to mean the direction, horizontal lines, and F would mean vertical lines. So this should be vertical. And Q, S, R, different letters. So Q probably means 2 lines, S means 4, R means 3. This has 2, so it should be Q, which means we've got option C as the answer. Question 40 now. X seems to mean black inside shapes, and Y means white inside shapes. So this should end with an X. K means we've got J and J, that seems to mean the smaller circle, because that's a similarity. So K means a bigger outside circle, so it should be K. And then M seems to mean 3 inside shapes, N means 2, and O means 1. So this should be M. which leaves us with option B as our answer. In this section, you're given 5 words. You can see we've been given blue, shed, black, rat, yellow, and 2 of them will be odd. So these 3 are colours, and shed and rat are therefore the odd words out. So question 1, we've got shoe, sock, fasten, lace, and tie. Now, fasten, lace, and tie are all verbs of basically things you can do to your shoelaces, right? You can lace up your shoelaces, you can fasten your shoelaces, you can tie your shoelaces. They're all sort of mean the same thing. So these are the similar ones, whereas shoe and sock would be the odd 2 out, so that would be option B. Question 2, toe, screw, tack, finger, and nail. So we've got toe and finger and nail, all are parts of the body. However, that relationship isn't as strong as screw, tack, and nail. These are actually all if they actually mean the same thing. So if you think about a screw and a nail, right, and a tack, they all actually mean the same thing. So that's just the strongest relationship that we've got there. So these will be related, and toe and finger will be the odd 2 out here. Question 3, we've got pear, apple, fruit, green, orange. So we've got 3 different fruits here, therefore fruit and green will be the odd 2 out, option C. Question 4, ring, diamond, ruby, gold, emerald. So diamond, gold, and diamond, ruby, and emerald are all different types of gemstones here, whereas gold is a metal, right, a bit like silver, and ring is completely different as well. So we've got 3 of these that are connected, whereas gold and ring would be so that would be option D. Question 5, ash, seed, oak, pine, and cone. So we've got 3 different types, I believe. Actually, cone isn't a type of tree, ash is. So we've got 3 types of trees right here, and you've got seed and cone, which are odd because they're not types of trees. That's option A. Question 6, elephant, branch, wood, twig, trunk. So we've got branch, twig, and trunk, which are all different parts of a tree. So that gives us elephant and wood as the odd 2 out, and the best option there. We've got hurry, dash, late, rush, depart. So hurry, dash, and rush are all different forms of like running or like rushing for something. They all mean the same sort of thing. Now late and depart are very different. So that gives us option D as the odd word out. Odd 2 out, sorry. Okay, now onto the next type of question. In these questions there are 2 pairs of words. One of the 5 answers will go equally well with both pairs of words. So you've got mail and letter, and then you've got pole and stake, and we have to choose a word that will go into both of them. So what they've done here is that post works with these 2, and post also works with here. If you think about a post, it's like a lamppost type thing, right? Question 8, block and plug, and then seize and finish. Plug would only work in this option. It doesn't really mean to stop or finish, or seize or finish, sorry. Halt would only mean seize and finish. Final wouldn't really mean any of them, to be honest. And sync doesn't mean any of them either. So B, actually, stop means to seize and finish, but stop could also mean to block something, or to stop something. If you say I'm going to plug the sink, you could say I'm going to stop the sink, or stop the water from going down the sink, right? So stop works the best here. Question 9. So we've got fragile and frail, which both mean sort of weak or delicate. Then we've got sensitive and awkward. So old doesn't match any of them, neither does thin. or difficult. So weak works quite well with this group, but it doesn't really work with that group. Because weak doesn't match with sensitive or awkward. Now we're left with E as the only other option. Now delicate and sensitive work quite well. It doesn't work as well with the word awkward, but it seems to fit into the group better than any of the other options. And of course delicate works well with fragile and frail, so that will give us option E. Question 10. Sketch, illustrate, raffle, tombola. Okay, so sketch and illustrate are very similar to draw. They're not similar to lottery. Exhibit, show, these seem to work. Now raffle, as most of you will know, is like a lottery. So like when you buy a raffle ticket, you can win a prize, right? But we can't use lottery because it doesn't fit into this group at all. Now draw, you could say you draw a raffle card, but I don't think it fits into that group that well. Display doesn't fit into that. Neither does exhibit or show, so I think we will be left with draw being the best option there, just because you can draw a raffle ticket, so I assume that's the best thing we can put in there, best option that will fit into both. Show doesn't particularly fit with sketch or illustrate. Question 11. Harvest produce. Surrender and succumb. So this one is quite easy, I can see. So yield. To yield is to surrender, and yield is also another word for harvest or produce, the amount that you've produced, right? None of the other ones would fit there. Submit works well in this group, but not in that group. Question 12. Tint, dye, colour, pigment. Now, dark wouldn't fit into the left group, neither would light. Flush or blue wouldn't. We're left with C. Shade definitely fits into this group, and then shade fits well with tint, and just about fits with dye. Again, it's not as similar with dye, but it's good enough to fit into this group of 3, right? And again, the question here is asking us to choose a 1 out of the 5 answers that will go equally well with both pairs of words, so like fitting into this group, right? Question 13. We've got marvel, miracle, speculate, and question. So, a wonder, like a wonder, let's say like the 7 wonders of the world, right? I think that could work quite well in there. Wondering is also like speculating. Inquire definitely wouldn't work in the left, neither would query, or vision, or amaze. So that really leaves us with A as the only option that works there. Question 14 now. Underline both words to make the sentence complete. So kid is to goat, as foal is to horse. So you can see there's a relationship here. It's a bit like NVR analogy. A kid is a baby goat and foal is a baby horse. So hot is to, well, we have to figure something out. Let's see what cold could be to. So if hot is to heat, then cold is to chill. That would work. So hot occurs due to heat, or you get hot due to the heat, and you get cold due to the chill. So question 14 would be B. Now it wouldn't be hot is to sun and cold is to moon, because there isn't any relationship between cold and moon, right? You could say the sun makes us hot, but you can't really say the moon makes us cold, because that's not what the moon does. The moon doesn't cool down the earth. Question 15. Chime is to bell, as tick is to clock would work quite well, because this is the chime is the sound a bell makes, and tick is the sound that a clock makes. So that gives us option E. Question 16. Foot is to shoe. That wouldn't work because there's nothing from here. So meter, what we could say is foot is to yard, or foot, actually 1 foot is 12 inches, right? And 1 meter is 100 centimeters. Basically what we've got here is foot is to the smaller unit, right, the smaller imperial unit, and then meter is to the smaller imperial unit, which is centimeter. So we'll have inch and centimeter, which is option C. Question 17. Sing is to, we've got singer or opera would work. Dance is to ballet, jump, scene. Okay, that's interesting. Now what we have here, I think best works, is an opera sings and a ballet person dance. Oh sorry, someone in an opera will be singing, someone in a ballet will be dancing. So that would be option B as the best relationship there. Drum is to stick as a violin is to bow. That would work well. So use a bow to play the violin and use a stick to play the drum. So we've got stick and bow. Question 19. Plus is to more. Divide is to cut, share. So plus is to add, because that's what plussing is, or adding. Divide is to share, because that's what dividing is. It's dividing something out between people, right? So we've got add and share, option D. Question 20 now. The code sing is UKPI. Work out the code for love. So we have to figure out how we got from S to U, which is forward 2. So we're going to go from L to N, which is forward 2. So the code should start with N. Let's go I to K. We went forward by 2 as well. So O will go forward by 2. Should be NQ. So we can cancel out these ones. And then N goes forward by 2 to P. So V will go forward by 2 to X. And that leaves us with A. And if we move E forward by 2, we'll get G as well. Question 21. H goes forward by, let's see, 2 to get to J. U goes forward by 2. S goes forward by 2 as well. So this is the same, it's just going forward by 2. So the C will go to E, the B will go to D, the W will go to Y. So we should have E, D, Y. Oh, hold on. So H went to J. The C should go to E, and then B should go to D. Oh right, I've been doing it wrong. What we've been given here is the code, so we should be going backwards. So these are all +2. So to go from the code to the actual word, we have to go -2, which will be start with A, and this one should go back to Z. So it should be AZ. W will be go back by 2 to give us U. So AZU, and T will go back by 2 to give us R, so it should be Azure, not Azuki. Question 22. The code for milk is JFIH. So M goes backwards by 2. I goes backwards by 2. Same with L. goes backwards by 2. So the code for rung will just be going backwards by 2. So it should give us, my fault, it should be O, I believe. Yep, it should start with O, so we can cancel out these ones. Then the U will go back by 2 to give us Q, sorry, to give us R. The N will go back by 2 to give us K, and that means it should be E. And if we just finish it off, D, yeah. Question 23, the code for awake is BY. Okay, so A goes +1, W goes +1, no, +2, alright. So this is +1, +2. The A this time goes +3. So we've got this pattern where it's going +1, +2, +3. This is already coded, so that means we have to go backwards. So it'll be -1, -2, -3. So let's look at the first few. I goes backwards by 1 will give us H, so we can cancel out these ones. Q going backwards by 2 will give us O. And then Q again, this time going backwards by 3 would give us N. Then I should go backwards by 4. That will give us E. And Y will go backwards by 5. Hold on, let's have a look. Let's look at the code. So K to O went forwards by 4, and then E to J went forwards also by 4. So this is +4, +4, right? So that means the last one here, D, will only go backwards by 4, sorry, which gives us, yeah, 1, 2, 3, hold on, E to J, 1, 2, 3, 5, okay, so it's 5, and D will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, my fault, but we end up with honey as the end, as the final answer, because this should be -4, -5, right? That's the code. Question 24. The code for clasp is Zixpum. So we go from C all the way backwards -3 to get to Z. And then we go from L -3 again. We go from A -3 to get to X. So let's do the first 3 of habit. If we do H -3, that will give us E. A -3 will give us X. So what was our first one? It was EX. Let's cancel these ones out. Now the next one, B, should be -3 as well. That should give us Y. So that cancels this out. And then let's just finish it off. I -3 will be F, and then the last one, T -3 will be Q, and that's our answer right here, option D. Question 25, the code syntax HBMGZC 2H is -3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Y. This one, we can think about it going forward by 1, 2, 3. +3, -11. Or actually, what it looks like from seeing it is a mirror code. So if we do a middle line down the middle, they've got a mirror here. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? They're all equal distance apart from the middle of the alphabet. So what we're going to have here from zebra is a Z is going to get reflected to an A. So each side. The E will be reflected to a V. Sorry, a U. No, it'll be a V. So it should be A, V. Let's just look at what's next. B gets reflected to a Y. R should get reflected to an I. And the A is Z, and the S should be reflected to a H. So we should have AVY IZH. So the answer to this one is option A. Alright, question 26 now. In these questions, underline the correct answer in the brackets. In the next question, find words in the brackets which means nearly the same as or nearly the opposite as the words printed in the capital. So we have to find either a synonym or an antonym here. So blunt or knife isn't a synonym or an antonym, neither is cold, rubber or hard. Sharp actually means the exact opposite of blunt, so that would be the option there. Exit, well, enter would work well. So entrance, that would work, I think. Door wouldn't, neither would out. Inward or outward. Entrance would mean pretty much the exact opposite here. Question 28, blatant. So blatant means something is very obvious, right? So here we've got playful. That doesn't match at all. Distrust, bracket, or latent. None of these match. So E would be the best here because it is a synonym to blatant. Question 29, grubby. So if you say someone's hands are grubby from like eating Cheetos or eating food, right? It's dirty sort of, right? So if we can see here actually clean would be the opposite of that. So that would be the antonym here. Washing dinner wouldn't be anywhere near similar. Question 30, buy. So if you think about the opposite of buy, it would be sell. So the answer should be